Welcome back to the cryptowrld channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now, as the price of Bitcoin has been playing out this oversold signal, the price is now rejecting from this major area of resistance. So I'll be talking about that in just a moment, alongside Ethereum now running into this very important level of support, while the price of Solana is now struggling around key resistance, while XRP is just hanging on to this important area of support, while the price of Chainlink has just rejected from major resistance but is now running into important support. So I'll be talking about all of that and more later in the video, so definitely watch to the end. First of all, starting off on the weekly Bitcoin chart, and technically speaking, the price of Bitcoin as of right now is still within a larger bull market, because at least for now, we've not yet confirmed any invalidation of the larger bullish price structure. For example, higher lows and higher highs, and playing out this bull market signal. But if we're taking a look at this weekly Bitcoin chart, obviously we're still losing a lot of bullish momentum in the weekly Bitcoin MACD. And as I've talked about recently here on the channel over the last couple of days, we're actually getting extremely close to a possible bearish crossover, which at the current rate could possibly happen over the next couple of weeks or so if nothing else changes. And so, like I talked about in my last video here on the channel, if we confirm a bearish crossover in the weekly Bitcoin MACD, of course, the last time we saw that was just under a year ago, around April 2024, and what came next was a larger bearish trend for roughly around half a year in the price of Bitcoin. So that would not be a bullish signal, obviously, for the price of Bitcoin. That would be bad news potentially over the next few months at the very least, if we confirm a bearish crossover, which obviously right now has not happened, but it is getting possibly close. But obviously, if we avoid the bearish crossover in the next couple of weeks, and instead we very soon start to see some more bullish momentum, then potentially we could continue to play out similar price action to what we saw 1 year ago, because we also got very close to a bearish crossover back then, around the end of January, even early February, back just last year. But instead, what happened that time was, of course, a breakout above the previous highs in the price of Bitcoin. And the moment we broke out above that key level of resistance, we started to see a lot more bullish momentum come into play, avoiding the bearish crossover and instead basically continuing a larger bull run over the next 1 to 2 months. And so, in other words, the next 1 to 2 weeks will be very important for the price of Bitcoin when it comes to what we could be expecting over the next few months. But with that being said, taking a look at this 4-day Bitcoin chart, and technically speaking, the super trend indicator is still sitting in the green, indicating a larger bull market. And looking at this weekly Bitcoin chart, obviously we still have a massive bearish divergence on the weekly time frame, which is technically a major warning signal to pay attention to. But as I've said many times here on the channel, of course, a bearish divergence does mean that we're losing a lot of bullish momentum in the bull market, but a bearish divergence by itself does not necessarily guarantee that a bear market is just about to start right now. Because, for example, even though, of course, we saw a bearish divergence at the previous significant bull market top back in the last bull cycle, we also saw a small bearish divergence right here on the weekly time frame, with slight higher highs in the price of Bitcoin, even in the candle closes here on the weekly time frame, very slight higher highs, while the RSI formed lower highs. That is technically a bearish divergence, and what came next was not a massive bear market, but we did indeed see some bearish price action following that bearish divergence. And so, as I've said recently here on the channel, in order to avoid a potential bearish scenario playing out over the coming months, and as I just said earlier, we need to see some sort of breakout in the price of Bitcoin within the next couple of weeks or so in order to avoid a possible bearish cross in this MACD indicator. And of course, if we were to see a bearish cross confirm in the MACD indicator over the next couple of weeks, then it's very likely that this larger bearish divergence will finally begin actually playing out and could potentially last a number of months. And so we just have to be realistic and pay attention to what the charts are looking like right now without having any bullish or bearish bias. So at least for now, once again, we're looking somewhat neutral in the short term, lacking momentum to either direction, but the next 1 to 2 weeks will be very telling for the price of Bitcoin, basically telling us what we could be expecting over the next many months. But if you want to get set up ready to go to take the next trading opportunity either way in the price of Bitcoin or any other crypto. Personally, I take most of my trades over on Bitfinex, so I'll make sure to leave a link to Bitfinex below this video in the description and in the pinned comment. And if you use that link, it'll take you to this page right here where you can claim some exclusive bonuses, like for example, a 10% discount on all trading fees on the Bitfinex exchange forever. But that's only available if you use the link below this video to make your account and then start trading on that account to take advantage of the fee discount. And also using that link, you can claim a 5,500 USDT deposit bonus simply just by depositing and starting to trade on the account. So once again, if you want to claim these exclusive bonuses like this massive fee discount, that's only available using that link. So if you're going to be trading crypto anyway, you might as well check this out. Once again, first link below this video. And also, in case you're wondering, Bitfinex is a no KYC exchange, which means you can access it from basically any country in the world without needing any KYC. But as always, check your local regulations when it comes to trading crypto. And for whatever reason, if you don't want Bitfinex as an exchange, there is also Bybit as another option out there, another exchange that I also trade on. So I will also make sure to leave a link to Bybit below this video in the description and in the pinned comment. And if you use that link, you can claim a 500 USDT position airdrop, but that's only available if you use that link. And with that being said, if we're taking a look at this Bitcoin chart on the 8-hour time frame, right now the price of Bitcoin is actually rejecting from this major area of resistance that I've already been warning about over the last couple of days, and that's sitting in between 101,000 to 103,000. And so first of all, obviously a couple of days ago now, when the price of Bitcoin started to break below 101,000, I said at that point right there, it's extremely likely we could drop down towards this next major area of support at closer towards around 92k, give or take. And that's exactly what we did. We dropped straight down towards around 91 to 92k, so right around this major area of support, and then we bounced from that area. And then, as I said in my last video, as the price of Bitcoin was starting to bounce here, I said it's quite likely we could bounce back up towards this major area of resistance in between 101k to 103k, and then start struggling a lot in that area, and then possibly starting to play out a bit of choppy sideways price action. And that's exactly what is now playing out as expected. And so I actually continue to expect this type of price action at least over the next couple of days. So ultimately a bit of choppy sideways price action, not really going far beyond this area of resistance. Once again, at around 101k, 103k, that's acting as major resistance, at least for now in the short term. But I do not expect the price to go below this major area of support again, at least over the next few days or weeks, possibly at some point longer term in the future. It's very much possible we could see some sort of larger crash at some point, or in the next bear market, for example. I'm not saying the price will never go below this point, but at least for the next few days or weeks, I don't see the price going below around 91 to 92k. And so in the immediate short term, honestly, I'll not be surprised if the price of Bitcoin just continues a little bit range bound, possibly in between around, let's just say around 97k, give or take, and around 102k, give or take. Ultimately, just range bounds, playing out a bit of choppy sideways price action is a very likely scenario just in the short term, talking about the next couple of days or so. And as for other levels of support and resistance, we do have a decent amount of support here in the short term based on these lows just here, and also this support just here, and that's sitting at around roughly around 98,000 acting as support. And below that we have more support closer towards around just underneath 96,000. And as for resistance, obviously above that area that I just mentioned, we have also significant resistance at 106k to 107k in that area. And if we're zooming into the 4-hour Bitcoin chart, obviously over the last couple of days, this oversold signal played out very nicely over the last couple of days. Obviously, we bounced massively here in the short term, but right now, if we're looking at the 4-hour Bitcoin RSI, it is basically fully reset back up towards neutral levels around the center of the RSI indicator. And so that essentially tells us the oversold signal has already now played out. It's essentially no longer playing out. Now, of course, it is very possible we could see a slight little bounce here, possibly back up towards this resistance. That is possible. I'm not saying no more bullish price action at all. I'm just saying I'll not necessarily rely on this oversold signal any longer because it's already played out. And if we're taking a look at the Bitcoin liquidation heat map, ultimately this hasn't really changed all that much over the last one day. So we still have some liquidity at roughly around 91,000 and more liquidity at around 88,000. And as for liquidity to the upside, we have a lot at around 108,000 and 110,000. So those levels have not really changed all that much over the last couple of days. And if we're taking a quick look at the Bitcoin and crypto funding rates, right now the funding rates are much closer towards more neutral levels compared to yesterday. Obviously, if you watched my last video just yesterday, pretty much all of these funding rates just here were very much negative. They were pretty much all below zero and very much below the neutral rate, which by the way, the neutral rate is 0.01%. And so it was due to that and a couple of other factors like the oversold signal, but really due to the fact that we're seeing very negative funding rates just yesterday. That was part of the reason why I did expect potentially a little bit more bullish price action back up towards this resistance, which played out exactly as expected. But now that that has already played out as expected, obviously that's helped to reset the funding rate back up towards more neutral levels, which essentially means it's very likely the price will be somewhat neutral in the short term, just chopping around sideways with little bounces and little dumps and things like that over the next couple of days. And so that's what I expect in the short term for the price of Bitcoin moving forward. And of course, the longer term for the price of Bitcoin and what I'm watching out for in the coming weeks. And if we're taking a look at Ethereum on the weekly time frame, the price of ETH is still holding just above this very important multi-year line of support, which is currently sitting at just above 2.6K, more accurately around 2650. And so as I explained in my last video just yesterday, it is very important for the price of ETH to actually remain above that level in terms of the weekly candle closes. Obviously, if we see a little candle wick to the downside here and there, like what we saw over the last couple of days, that does not necessarily confirm a break to the downside. So for now, we're still looking okay when it comes to this line of support, but we are getting very, very close to that line. And if we're taking a look at the 3-day Ethereum chart, right now, as I'm recording this video, the price of ETH is running into this Fibonacci level of support, which is the second most important Fibonacci level behind the golden pocket. This is the 38.2% Fibonacci level of support I'm talking about, and that's sitting at pretty much exactly 2.8K. And also based on a lot of previous support and a lot of previous resistance, 2.8K is a very important level for the price of ETH. And so at least in the shorter term for the price of ETH, it is very important we hold above 2.8K, because if we actually confirm candle closes below 2.8K, especially on these slightly larger time frames like the 3-day chart, for example, then in that case, we could potentially see a further pullback in the coming days or weeks, at least down towards around 2,500 and possibly retracing back down towards these lows in between around 2.2K to 2.3K, approximately just above the golden pocket area of support, which by the way, the golden pocket is sitting in between around 2150 to 2.2K, acting as major support. But for now, like I just said earlier, the price is holding slightly above that 2.8K level, at least as I'm recording this video. But if we actually hold above this level and bounce from this level, then obviously that is a good thing in the short term. And the next major point of resistance is sitting in between around 3,000 to 3.1K based on previous supports becoming new resistance, and also more resistance closer towards 3.2K. So really just above that $3,000 area, we have major resistance around there and important support at 2.8K, like I just said. And we also have a little bit of Ethereum news today, which is essentially the US president's son, Eric Trump, tweeting out that it's a great time to add ETH, a great time to add Ethereum. So this is very interesting. Let me know what you think about this in the comment section below this video. But basically, just over the last one day, around 1 day ago, we got the president's son essentially tweeting bullish about Ethereum, which is very interesting, like I just said. And so it's entirely possible that some of the wealthy individuals out there could be using this crash to actually load up on some cheaper assets before a coming pump. That's entirely possible. But with that being said, taking a look at the price of Solana on the 8-hour time frame, and right now Solana is actually holding above this important area of support in between 200 to 205, but we're also struggling around this important area of resistance sitting in between around 220 to 225. And so for now, the price of Solana is basically in a bit of a sideways price range between that area of support and that area of resistance, ultimately just chopping around sideways. And so that is a very likely scenario in the coming days, a little bit more choppy sideways price action, especially if Bitcoin continues to play out a bit of choppy sideways price action. And as for other levels of support and resistance, if we were to see a further confirmed break below around $200, then in that case, the next major area of support to the downside is sitting in between around 178 to 183. And as for resistance beyond 220 to 225, in that case, we have a lot more resistance at just above 240, really at around 244 to 246. And if we're taking a look at the price of XRP on the daily time frame, as of right now, the price of XRP is still holding above this important area of support based on previous resistance becoming new support, and that's sitting in between around $2.58 to $2.73. So for now, that is support, but obviously the price is getting extremely close to possibly breaking that support. We're only just hanging on to that support. So if we actually were to see daily candle closes, for example, below $2.58, then in that case, I'll potentially be watching at around 246 to 247 as the next short-term support, and below that would have some more short-term support at around 226 based on these lows, and below that the next important area of support is sitting in between around $1.95 to $2.05. And we also have to be aware of the fact that while the price of XRP is running into this area of support, which is of course supporting the price in the short term, we are also now playing out a bearish divergence on the daily time frame, which is also visible and playing out on slightly larger time frames like the 3-day chart, for example, with confirmed higher highs in the price and lower highs in the RSI. So this is of course resulting in a bit of bearish momentum coming into play for the price of XRP. So I'd not necessarily expect a lot of bullish momentum in the coming days or weeks, honestly. Now, of course, we can see some slight little bullish moves here and there, but I'm not expecting a lot of bullish momentum. And honestly, XRP will likely play out somewhat similar price action to what Bitcoin is doing. So if Bitcoin just chops around sideways over the next couple of days, we'll likely see something very similar for the price of XRP. But with that being said, if we're taking a look at the price of Chainlink on the 6-hour time frame, Chainlink is also bouncing around sideways, chopping around within support and resistance in this sideways price range. So right now, this area of support is sitting in between around $19.50 to $20.50, acting as major support, and this area of resistance is sitting in between around $22 to $22.50. But if we were to see a confirmed breakout beyond $22.50, in that case, the next major area of resistance further to the upside is sitting in between $24 to $24.50. And below this area of support, so below $19.50, in that case, the next important level of support is sitting at around $18. But just like I said for the price of XRP, Chainlink will likely play out somewhat similar price action to what Bitcoin is doing. Obviously not the exact same price action, but similar price action. So if Bitcoin is chopping around sideways within a bit of a sideways price range, expect something similar for Chainlink. And of course, if Bitcoin has a major pump or major dump, also expect something similar for Chainlink and XRP and a lot of the major altcoins out there. And remember, if you want to trade any of these moves in the price of any crypto, take advantage of the exclusive bonuses using the links below this video to those exchanges if you want to claim those exclusive bonuses. And if you want to actually know how to take any of these trades in the price of any crypto, check out these videos popping up right here on your screen. The video in the top left shows you how you can profit from bullish or bearish price action using long positions or short positions. And the video in the bottom left shows you how you can easily profit from choppy sideways price action. But anyway, that is everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.